We've talked about Trump needing to show Canada respect.
President Trump.
President Trump, yes. President Trump needing to show Canada respect. You said that again just now. Are you not going to speak with President Trump until he cuts out this 51st state talk?
No.
I'm about to do a deep dive into who's actually funding the Canadian Liberal Party and who's actually running the show in Canada right now. And it has nothing to do with Russia, but it actually has connections to the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, and John Podesta. I know that sounds wild. I'm going to try and put in as much information in a short amount of time as I can. But before we get started...
Yes, I said it, and I will repeat myself. This guy who bragged when he was elected, like, I will not negotiate with Trump. He is now here making it clear, like, oh, I'm going to meet with Trump. They are begging to meet with Trump. We saw the other day this guy going to Washington to negotiate, please. He came after that meeting, like, oh, it was a good meeting. After threatening to cut off electricity in some part of the United States, it is crazy to see how these people act. You don't show strength when you don't have. If you need something from someone, you need to behave yourself. On this clip, we are going to take an exclusive look into what is going on exactly. You cannot use strength to a higher authority. You need to understand. Go closer to the person and negotiate. That is what Trump wants.
Mister.
You've talked about Trump needing to show Canada respect.
President Trump.
President Trump, yes. President Trump needing to show Canada respect. You said that again just now. Are you not going to speak with President Trump until he cuts out this 51st state talk?
No. I look forward to speaking with President Trump. Just to be clear, we respect the United States. We respect President Trump. President Trump has put some very important issues at the top of his agenda. We understand his agenda. We understand the importance of addressing the scourge of fentanyl, which is a challenge here in Canada as well as the United States. And I would say that the measures that have been put in place in recent weeks in Canada and Mexico, also the United States, means that we are making tremendous progress. I'll speak specifically for Canada against fentanyl. We understand the importance President Trump places on American workers and American jobs. We want him and his administration to understand the importance we put on Canadian workers and Canadian jobs. And we will look for avenues to work together so that both objectives are met in terms of both our great economies, just as we are doing, and the people behind me have led this, just as we are doing with respect to the scourge of fentanyl.
This is it. He's now talking. This is what Trump wants. So I don't understand why they took it to another level, like there is a big fight. They have asked you that there is a problem at your border. Look into it. Struggle to solve the problem. Cooperate. Look into the condition Trump's put out and see if you can sort that out. Not exchanging words that will not help. Not threatening, oh, I'm going to cut off electricity, oh, I'm going to do this. That is not sorting the situation out. Negotiations. That is the best way to handle this. You can't fight Trump. We know that very well.
I'm about to do a deep dive into who's actually funding the Canadian Liberal Party and who's actually running the show in Canada right now. And it has nothing to do with Russia, but it actually has connections to the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, and John Podesta. I know that sounds wild. I'm going to try and put in as much information in a short amount of time as I can. But before we get started, did you guys watch the Sean Ryan show where Lindy Lee went on the show, basically said that it was Obama running the last 4 years under the Bidens, and that Biden was just a puppet at the front show of things, that it was actually Jill and Hunter Biden running everything in the background while lying to the American people? Let me just show you. If you search this following thing on YouTube, you will actually see what I'm talking about, and it's going to make a lot more sense with what I'm about to say. So there's a group called CAP, or the Center for American Progress, that has been funded by people like George Soros and a bunch of other shady billionaires who wanted the liberal governments into power in both Canada and the United States. And they actually helped Obama stay in power by changing the public opinion view and also hiding a lot of the real information that was going on around. Now, let me just show you this group and who they're associated with. Time magazine describes the Center for American Progress as the most influential outside group in the Obama administration. Run by Clinton's former chief of staff and funded by shady billionaires, the growing influence of the shadowy organization on the Democratic Party has troubled even the mainstream media. And if we look at WikiLeaks here, it says the Center for American Progress is a George Soros-funded liberal, supposedly progressive Beltway think tank founded by ex-Bill Clinton's chief of staff, John Podesta. And I mean, look at their list of donors. You've got George Soros, you got the Open Society Foundation, which is also George Soros's. Then at the bottom, you've got Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and then the Tides Foundation, which has a lot of ties in with the Canadian politicians. So what does this group actually have to do anything with the Canadian Liberal Party? Well, we have our own CAP in Canada called the Canada 2020 group. And apparently they're a liberal think tank, but this liberal think tank takes in a lot of donations from pharmaceutical companies, pharmaceutical insurances, and a lot of other shady billionaires who are kind of tied to the liberal government of Canada. And Hillary Clinton actually made a speech at a Canada 2020 group, and also Chrystia Freeland is part of it. I know, Chrystia Freeland, we've got Mark Carney, every circus needs its Carney, but it gets a little deeper than that, and let me just show you who's actually running Canada and the Liberal Party of Canada. Inside the progressive think tank that really runs Canada, you see the American Progress CAP, which has worked closely with the group Canada 2020 and Canadian Nonprofit, which is modeled after it and was set up in 2006. You see, in 2012, Gerald Butts actually attended a CAP event. And the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, was a featured speaker at a subsequent Canada 2020 conference in 2014, where she actually kind of became annoyed. Her participation was linked to a de facto fundraiser for the Liberal Party of Canada. They even held a bunch of events that Justin Trudeau attended and other guys from the Canada 2020 group. Now, if we go on to the Canada 2020's website, apparently they're just a think tank. An active member of the Global Progress Network, Canada 2020's goal is to build community of progressive ideas and people that will move and shape governments. You mean infiltrate governments and then, use your dirty ideas to actually shape our futures? Yeah, probably. And so I went to see who the members are, and look at the president up here. And I'm like, why does Uncle Fester look so familiar? Oh yeah, because I had it in with him on X. And let me just show you his X page. Isn't it funny how a guy from the Canada 2020 group is associated directly with the Prime Minister or the new Prime Minister of Canada, which he isn't. He's in an interim position so that he can screw Canada over while Justin Trudeau is still kind of our Prime Minister on paper. And here are just some of the donors to the 2020 group. I mean, yeah. And the former president of Canada 2020, Tom Pitfield, was actually vacationing in 2016 with Justin Trudeau on an island owned by Aga Khan. You guys remember that scandal?
Yes, I thank this lady for actually opening my eyes. There are a lot of things I realized on this video that I didn't know that was actually happening. They were interlinked. After watching the video, to a certain learn, how to praise her. I've struggled to look the handle of this lady so I can even shout out on most of my videos. I can see that to appreciate her. This is actually, I think, the second video. I'm reacting. I'm grateful. When I see people putting out content that is actually speaking the truth. I want to know your thought. Would this guy be better than Trudeau? Because a lot of people call him a web puppet. That is just what I've seen throughout on social media. He's part of the World Economic Forum. We all know that. But these people are just the same. Justin going, allowing this man to come in, I have not seen another change. I'm just waiting to observe, though CNN is appreciating his tone, like he's more calmer, they are now switching away from Justin Trudeau. This same CNN was appreciating this guy.
We are going to make sure that all the proceeds from our tariffs go back to support workers in the affected industries. So in the steel industry, in the aluminum industry, and any other industry that the Americans may affect. In addition, we will double down on the partnerships that we have with the industry. As you know, a lot of the big investments here have been in partnership with the federal government, with the Ontario government, the so-called SIF fund as one example. We are proud of what you have accomplished. It's a remarkably competitive company. It's a world leader who's going to be here for another 30 years, another 30 years after that, another 30 years after that. And I know there's multi-generations of workers here. And your children and your children's children will have opportunities to work at Dofasco and ArcelorMittal. Let me just say one other point, or make a couple other points with respect to the United States and the relationship there. We understand, I respect President Trump's concern for American workers and American families. We respect his concern about fentanyl. It's an issue for us here in Canada as well, and that's why the Canadian government moved very quickly with a comprehensive response that has had a huge impact in terms of controlling that issue and getting on top of that issue much better. We are ready to sit down with the Americans, with the U.S. government. I'm ready to sit down with President Trump at the appropriate time under a position where there's respect for Canadian sovereignty, and we're working for a common approach, a much more comprehensive approach for trade.
Thank you guys for always being there, sharing out my videos. God bless you abundantly. For about 1 week, if you've been watching keenly, you realize my voice was not coming out. I was not feeling fine. Even to create new videos, I was unable. If you notice, like the video I uploaded today, that was just a re-upload and editing because I could not be able to do that. But I'm glad that I'm recovering. I'm able to sit here to give you update on what is happening around you.
It's time for the last word with Lawrence O'Donnell. Good evening, Lawrence.
Good evening, Rachel. And I know you've pledged.
We gather in celebration of the Oscars on the ancestral lands of the Tongva, Tataviam, and...
Is that... But if we are, that's this.
Is like crypt keeper, kind of like...
Well, that's genetics.
Skeletor. Well, or how we treat ourselves.
Absolutely.
Whereas Trump, almost the same age, and I used to say it in my act, like it was like he puts on the wig and the face paint and he's like Kiss in 1976. It's
to the because they don't know how to fight and be part of an opposition party.
As we wrap before the new season of South.
On social media for admitting that, but so be it. And the fact is that it doesn't matter whether Vice President Vance planned it or just took the opportunity to bait Zelensky. Zelensky took the bait, okay? Yeah. And
what happened at the White House today?
Today, Donald Trump irreparably destroyed.
Ambush of an American ally that will reverberate all around the world and stain America's image for years to come.
That was too...
No.
A complete and utter mess. We don't gain anything by acting like bullies, and this is what bullies do.
I think there's no question that this was a setup. You heard Donald Trump say at the end of that clip you played, this is great television.
To issue an apology tonight?
Absolutely.
All right, so, but what else is going on?
Say that it is one of the most astonishing moments.
When you're a completely homogeneous nation like Denmark,